Hey everybody, welcome to No Plan, No Problem, the weekly D&D advice podcast where two dungeon masters go out there into the wide world on a quest to find tips for you to use in your next game. I'm your dungeon master, Anto.
And my power level is over 9,000. Matthew Perkins.
You can find my stuff across the internet at icarus-games.co.uk.
And you can find my stuff over at matthewperkins.net. Anto, what are we talking about today?
Today, Matt, we are going to be talking about high-level play, kind of that tier 4, everybody is super powerful, that kind of breed of D&D. And I have got a lot of things to say about high-level play because I love high-level play.
Oh, wow. That's great, because I literally know nothing about this. I'm an audience member for this one. And in fact, let me read out the first question from the first adventurer helping us on the quest for our first tip. It is from Jota-3010, and they are simply on the Matt Colville subreddit, tips for high-level D&D. And hey, I also have that question, Anto, tips for high-level D&D?
So, we've got loads of... I have loads of thoughts.
We have so... You and I, me and you, equal experts in this subject.
We know equally qualified for this. No, I think that high-level play is something that a lot of people are scared of, and I completely understand why. There's a lot going on in high-level play. But, like I said, it is one of my favourite things to do in D&D because of how bonkers it gets. So I think that to help us contextualize this, I will start out by saying for me, the most important thing when it comes to high-level play is you need to stop worrying about balance, because balance stops existing when you have 5 or 6 or more creatures in a combat that are throwing around kind of like 8th, 9th level spells. Balance doesn't mean a thing, so just stop worrying about it immediately. And
Mr. Anto,
yes.
Matthew Perkins, No Plan, No Problem. What level counts as high level for you? Like the highest I've gotten is as a player is level 14, and the highest I've run is like level 9.
Yeah.
What's high level for you?
So high level for me is gonna probably be certainly, I would say, 15 plus.
I was so close.
Because that level 15 is when wizards get 8th level spells. And then level 16, level 17 is when they get 9th. So certainly level 17. But I would say from about level 15 is when you're talking about the kind of high level powers where you can just break the world really easily.
You said it was like tier 4. Is that, I mean, like level 15 to 20 is tier 4, and then it's 5 levels, 20 each? Okay. So tier 1's like goblins and stuff, and tier 2 is like, I don't know, like, is it, what do you mean? What's the tier?
Tier 1, sort of level 1 through 5, tier 2, sort of 6 through 10, 10 through 15, 15 through 20. And tier 1, you're dealing with kind of very localized threats. Your goblins, the things that are only affecting kind of your immediate town or city and the tiny surrounding local area. Tier 2, you're expanding out a bit. You're affecting nearby regions. Tier 3, you're affecting kind of a countrywide or global scale. And then tier 4 is when you are so powerful that you can affect the multiverse. The kind of powers that you have, you are the people that the gods are going to come to say, I've got a problem in an extra dimension. I need a suicide squad to go and deal with it. You are that level of powerful.
Because to me, that sounds like you start off playing, Game of Thrones, and then you start playing, maybe some of the Dungeons and Dragons novels, and then you start playing a superhero movie, and then you start playing, like, how every anime ends with like, and then we killed God.
Yeah. Like, anime is a surprisingly good allegory for kind of the power progression of D&D, because a lot of them start out quite mundane and end with just utter ridiculousness. And when you get to that kind of tier 4 play, high level play, it's so difficult for balance to even exist as a concept when you've got a group of people, each of which capable of doing kind of world-altering things individually, and they're all thrown together fighting things that can also affect the world.
Yeah. Okay. So when you say don't worry about balance, because I get the feeling that's going to be our tip and we're kind of just kind of like dancing around it. When you say don't worry about balance, do you mean in the sense that the players are powerful enough that you can throw whatever you want at them and they have the tools to work out a solution? Is that generally it? Or do you mean like the opposite where it's like, what do you mean?
That is generally it. I think that at that higher level, it's going to be very rare that the players are really going into random encounters. You know, they're almost gods at this point. So the idea of them walking down the street and something being powerful enough to just challenge them happening to be there doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So they're going to be forewarned of most encounters that they come across in a broad sense. They're going to know they're going to X place to deal with Y thing. It's going to be powerful. So they have a level of prep time that means I don't feel bad for throwing disgustingly powerful creatures at them.
And you would never even bother, like, if they were level 20 or like level 17 or whatever, you would never bother being going, and then some gnolls attack you in the street. Like, you would just skip.
Actually, not in the street, but because 5th edition uses banded accuracy, so the numbers can only get so big, low-level creatures can still pose a theoretical threat to high-level characters.
They might give the players tetanus or something. Like,
so there are certain monsters that are really good no matter what level you are. So shadows are a really good example. Anything that imparts ability drain, that's powerful regardless of whether you're level 1 or you're level 20. You know, a 20th level character, a 20th level barbarian, suddenly being sapped of like half their strength is a big deal to a powerful barbarian. And so there are ways that you can use really low level monsters to really change the course of a battle, but they're not going to come across them randomly because, you know, at that power level, what are you doing walking through the street as a regular? You're basically a god. Conduct yourselves as such.
Here they are, like haggling over like the cost of the room.
Exactly.
You are celestial being at this point. Okay.
You command magics that will shape the very foundation of the earth, and you're arguing over 2 copper.
Like a peasant walks up to this godlike barbarian and says, "Hey, just quietly, you're embarrassing yourself."
So, like, broadly, that's my number one tip for high level play is stop worrying about balance. The players should the player characters should be competent enough that they never go into a situation fully unprepared. So you just throw the kitchen sink at them. It's their job to figure out how to deal with it.
I love that tip, and I do want to ask a quick follow up before we go into the sponsorship. The sponsorship paradox.
Yeah.
What is the point where you stop caring about balance? Like, do you after like level 13 do you stop, or is it level 15, level 17? When do you stop caring about balance in general?
It's going to be kind of a case by case basis, dependent on the party. But a good rule of thumb that I kind of follow is if you've got a magic user, as soon as they get access to 9th level spells, once they get access to that level of power, there is no reason that they should ever feel underprepared for a situation.
That's fair enough. Okay, let's enter the sponsorship paradox.
Let's do this. So if you are enjoying this podcast, you can really help us out by dropping likes and comments and those juicy 5-star reviews over on Apple Podcasts. They really help us out, spread the message to more people, and help bring new listeners into the fold so that we can have them join this strange family that we are building. And if you want to help us out even more, you can support us over on Patreon. We give access to our patrons for things like a pre-show where we do it every time we record. We get together, we warm up, we talk about sometimes D&D things, sometimes absolute nonsense, but it's always good fun. You also get access to things like the stats towns that we've done, where we've statted up different creatures and effects and feats and things like that, and you just get that warm sense of goodness in your heart from helping us keep the lights on and keeping food on Ranger's table. That's Matt's cat.
Yeah, it is.
You can also, if you are enjoying this episode, if you have anything to add about high-level play, if you've got strong opinions on the things that we're saying about high-level play, throw them down in the comments. Let us know what you think, because we always love hearing from people.
Dude, you hit that was a banger. You got everything. Oh, that was really good. But maybe we should add something else. What else is
just
important to tell
piling things
people?
on? Like, you did everything. Now you've got to do more.
Not good enough. You know how, like, your teacher, like, they're never going to give you a 10 out of 10. They want to give you a 9 out of 10. So you got room to grow. Were you smiling when you did it?
I mean, maybe.
We
can't consult the tape, so... I keep forgetting that you can't see me. I can see you. I hold all the power.
Oh no! All right, get me out of the sponsorship conundrum.
Let's go. So,
all right,
let's do this.
I have a plan. I have a plan for us. Okay, I want you to come along on a heist with me. Okay, you and I are going to do some crime, some bad crime, and I want to steal something. Okay, this is our segment, Stuff to Steal, and I want to rob the highest level characters that I can possibly think of.
Yes,
those overpowered, banana-haired, beautiful boys, the Super Saiyans, Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. They're the highest level characters I can think of, because like literally all they do is power up and punch each other. Yeah. Right? There's got to be something in this. Yes. Like how do they challenge? Actually, can you do me a favor? Yeah. Let's pretend someone doesn't know what Dragon Ball Z is. Can you just give me like a really succinct summary of like the 400 episodes?
Yeah. So Dragon Ball Z is about a group of world-class fighters, some of which are aliens, all of which are able to channel their ki into incredible powers. And over the course of 7 or 8 seasons, they become more powerful, and eventually they are dealing with galaxy-ending threats.
Yeah, and it's weird because like this class, this whole little entourage of doofuses from the start, in the end, literally any one of them could destroy the world at will. Yeah, like the world exists on their good graces.
Exactly. It's very much. I think Dragon Ball fits quite nicely into the tier mold, because the original Dragon Ball series is very mundane. Starts off with child Goku fighting like just regular people in kind of fighting tournaments, and then by the time you get far to the end, like Dragon Ball Super, you are actual gods.
Wait! I haven't seen the end of Dragon Ball Super. Wait.
I mean, I've not seen any of it. I'm just going on the kind of progression of where it's almost certainly going to go. That they've got to be gods by that point. Like, sure.
Okay, cool. I watched a bit of it, but I got bored. Because I'm not a kid anymore. Yeah. Like I watched all of it when I was like, it used to be on before school. So I would wake up and suffer through the 6:30 a.m. fitness show where all like the aerobics people were going. And then I've got my cartoon where everybody was going. It was fun.
It was, I watched it to death. I loved Dragon Ball Z as a kid.
Oh, dude, it was objectively bad when you think about it, but I had a lot of fondness for it just because it had such a clear trajectory. Yeah. And it was so obsessed with people comparing things. Yeah. Like when people are fans of something, like if you're a fan of, I don't know, Buffy, people might try and think of like, oh, who would win in the fight between Angel and Spike, the two vampires. Well, Dragon Ball Z went like, well, Angel is power level 9,000 and Spike is power level 10,000 or whatever. Like it actually assigned
it
power levels in for a while. And when it wasn't doing that, it was going, well, they're Super Saiyan 1 and they're Super Saiyan 2 and they're Super Saiyan 3. And there was no ceiling. It kept on establishing a ceiling and then going, but then someone broke through it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I think makes it most useful for applying to D&D is you've got these kind of clear categories and this clear progression of story, and you see how they go from just using their innate abilities to kind of win local tournaments up to being like Super Saiyan 4 and saving the universe. And taking the start and the end and comparing them is utterly ridiculous. But when you go through the journey, it kind of makes sense, which is very much what like level 1 to 20 D&D campaign feels like. You start off, you're fighting goblins and skeletons, and by the end you are a master of time itself.
I get the feeling that this is going to be a segment that ends up with one of those rare 2 tips, because there are 2 things that I'm really keen on.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is something that I remember having in Dragon Ball Z. It did it a few times where, so it's not always like the same bad guy. There's not the same kind of villain or organization that they're facing.
Yeah.
There's this big threat and we're so scared of it. And this threat, like Frieza, he is so tough that he could kill any of the party if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But he just hasn't yet. And they face him down and they win just barely, right? He was half of their limit. But then a couple of seasons later, Frieza comes back, right? He gets revived. And this time, the character, even the weakest characters, are more powerful than Frieza.
Yeah.
And they use this as a way to go, look how far you've come. This guy used to threaten the galaxy, and now even Krillin can beat him.
Yeah.
I don't think Krillin beats him, but someone beats him. And it's not a big deal. They do it in half an episode.
That I think is a great tip for D&D, is to reintroduce threats that players have encountered later on so that they get a very real world example of their power.
Now, I want to float this to you as an option for a second tip.
Okay.
Okay. And I give you the power to veto it. Like, it's a really dumb idea. What if, like, so D&D caps at level 20, right?
Yeah.
What if, like, I just swore, I'm so sorry, you're going to have to beep that out. What if, as a surprise, there is a level 21.
Okay.
Your characters do something, right? Like they're level 20, they know the toughest. And then you go, all right, guys, you level up. You go, what? Level 21? And there's no rules. And you go, yeah, what does your character get at level 21?
Yeah.
What ability do you unlock? Is that fun?
That can absolutely be fun. I don't actually know whether 5th edition has anything for beyond level 20. I don't think that it does, but
they have boons.
Previous editions have had up to level 30. I believe 4th edition took you all the way up to level 30. And things like Pathfinder, you start to be able to access specific kind of subclasses that only become available when you reach that kind of top tier of power. I think there's a lot of juice to be had from giving players access to those level 20 plus. It's just you have to make everything bespoke at that point.
It sounds like this isn't going to make it into the tips.
I mean, I do think it's worth looking at to explore older editions and other games to see what kind of level 20 plus things you can bring in, for sure.
That's a no. I think it hasn't made it. Seeing as you're not as excited about it as I am. It blew me away. I'm like, what do you mean there's 21? I was all for it. I swore about it. I broke our protocol. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry for hurting your eardrums with my nuts.
Have to go in and mute that swear, and it's not even making it into the tips.
Oh, no. Sorry, everybody. Hey, guess who the next adventurer helping us with this next tip is? It's going to blow your mind.
Please tell me.
It's me. I don't know. It's a me.
Okay.
I'm Matthew Perkins.
Okay.
Because I don't know anything about high level play, and I want to ask you, who has run a high level play thing, if all the players have all of these abilities, right? They've got heaps of spells and heaps of abilities and heaps of dice to roll and reactions and stuff. Doesn't combat just like take forever? Like, aren't they just rolling all the dice and taking all of the reactions every time? Like, what's combat like?
Combat in high level play, in my experience, goes one of two ways. You either end up in a kind of slogfest,
yes,
or it is very, very quick because there is so much power being thrown around. And as a dungeon master, those are kind of two dials that you can control intentionally. So one thing that it can be fun to do as a DM with really high level players is throw meaningless threats in front of them to frustrate them. So they are so powerful that you throw lower level monsters at them. They know that these low level monsters aren't a threat, but they have to go through them. They have to burn resources, and forcing the players to burn their resources is kind of the name of the game when it comes to high level play, because without those resources, what are they? Like, 20th level wizard without their spells, they're just slightly tougher.
He's just a wizard with a complex tax time that he has to fill out.
You know, the martial characters do better when they're kind of out of their stuff because they can still swing their weapons reasonably hard, but using up their abilities and forcing them into situations where they have to use their abilities when they don't necessarily want to is a good way to kind of control the flow of the battle, because you can drop something in front of them and be like, well, we have to deal with this because it might not be a problem for us now, but if we ignore it, it will become a problem over time. So we have to spend resources on it, but that's resources we don't have for the actual goal that we have. So if we're heading to the big bad.
Can I challenge this a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
When you say frustrate the players, like, then you don't mean actually be like, oh, like if you were to throw this at them, they're not going, oh God, we got to do this. Oh, this sucks. Oh, I hate having to do. Like, do you mean actually frustrate them? Like, here's a math puzzle.
No, kind of. Not as in, because it's one of the ways in which you can create a specific type of feeling. So there, at that level of power, there isn't many situations where the players feel like they're out of control. They command a level of power where they very much feel like they're in control of a lot of situations. So anytime you can kind of make them feel like they don't have the degree of control that they think they do, that is going to frustrate them, because they're like, we are powerful. We deserve this level of power. But I think that's a good frustration because it challenges them narratively. It says, right, this is how you see the world. Now I'm going to challenge that, and you have to deal with it. You are used to being this level of power and being able to circumvent problems or like wipe problems away with the bat of a hand. So I'm going to give a cost to you that makes you have to stop for a second. It might be a trivial speed bump, but that one spell slot might be the thing that saves you later on. And then when that comes back later on, they can go, oh, if only we'd have done this differently. And it means that they have to think more about what they're going to use and when.
Because their power their power comes from their tricks, and the more of their tricks that they don't have, the less power they have. But do you, going into it, are you ever surprised by like, I thought this combat would be quick, but it's not, or I thought this combat would be long, but it's not? Like you said, there's always a slog, or it's a breeze.
Yeah.
You ever get them mixed up?
So yes, and it usually comes. I find that the kind of mix up comes with how the players respond to a thing. So I might throw like a speed bump at them and think, right, okay, this is just to burn a little bit of resource. They will go through this really quickly. And for whatever reason, that particular day, they're feeling particularly reserved, and they will just come to a dead stop, and they'll be like, right, we need to agonize over how to deal with this speed bump rather than just spend the resource to get over it. And while they're doing that, then the big bad evil guy is doing something. So they're choosing to be like, right, this small inconvenience, we're going to stop and find a way that we can get around it and kind of have our cake and eat it too, get around it without spending our resources. But that time is precious to the villain, who's going to use it to do things, which will make the next encounter they have that much harder.
Hey, time is contagious. It's coming for a fall.
Yeah.
So I guess that maybe the tip that we're approaching here is, isn't it ridiculous that I'm here trying to articulate a tip? Look, hey, what's up, everybody? I'm the qualified Dungeon Master, Matthew Perkins, and I'm here to tell you about high-level play. And what I think, in my opinion, that you should do is, with your high-level players, you should try and whittle down their resources, because their power comes from their tricks. And if they don't have their tricks, they're going to have to find new and innovative ways to get around challenges. And I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Resources and time are the most valuable things at high level play.
Is that, hey, I give you complete veto power over that. Is that an okay tip for that? I don't know what I'm talking about.
I do think that is what you want to be doing as the Dungeon Master at high level play. The players are thinking, oh, right, okay, how are we going to win this combat? Your thought should be kind of like 4D and be like, right, okay, how can I maximize the time that they're spending and that the big bad has available? And how can I whittle away as many resources as they have to weaken them? Because without their bag of tricks, they're just sacks of hit points.
That's funny. No, actually, this kind of reminds me of. So I played a lot of StarCraft 2. I love StarCraft 2. There's a race called Protoss, right? They're the aliens, and they've got the toughest units, right? And when the Protoss has a particular kind of army composition, they just kind of group them together and just move them around the map, and it's called the Protoss Death Ball because they're just so powerful and so concentrated that they just wipe anything out. And I remember one of my friends asking me, he's like, "Hey, how do you counter a Protoss Death Ball?" It's like, "Oh yeah, you just can't let them do that." Yeah, like you can't let them get that. Yeah. And it's the same way with the players. Like, how do you counter like a power party with all their resources? Yeah, you can't let them have that. Yeah, you can't let them get that.
And you have a whole variety of things that you can throw at them to do that, either in your kind of big set piece fight, through the use of spells and things like that from your big bad, or by putting a series of small roadblocks in front of them. Anything that will give them levels of exhaustion, anything that will ability drain them, anything that will impart a condition that needs some kind of rest to get rid of, those are your juicy things at high level.
Man, that's exciting. I want to be a high level one day. One day. Hey, Anto, do you reckon you could please recap the tips for us?
I certainly can. So tip number 1, the biggest tip when it comes to high level play is just don't worry about balance. Tip number 2 was to reintroduce villains to kind of contextualize the progression of power for your players. And
Kamehameha!
Yeah. And tip number 3 was that resources and time are the 2 things that you need to manage at high level play. So you want to burn resources or burn time.
That's pretty cool. Hey, I really like that we got to do an episode of No Plan, No Problem where it's like you're the expert and I don't know anything, as opposed to all the other episodes where I'm the expert.
And I just turn up. Yeah.
I don't think there's actually anything that I know anything about that you don't know anything about.
I mean, there absolutely will be. I am certain of that.
Well, here's the thing. I think that you've run a lot more D&D than I have in general.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I started DMing, almost every week since that point I've been running. Because I was very intentional. I was like, right, if I'm taking the DM mantle, I'm taking it and we're going for the end zone, to use a sports analogy. Yay, sports.
Yay, sports.
So I've run a lot of D&D in a smaller time frame because I'm running week in, week out for consecutive years.
Yeah, and my approach in general, because I don't have a lot of time to play, I tend to play very infrequently, but like I just think about it a lot, and I don't plan a lot, but I do like to think about it a lot and like talk about it. I don't know. I'm more of a D&D fan, I think. But anyway, hey, everybody, thank you for listening. My name is Matthew Perkins, and you can find my stuff over at matthewperkins.net.
My name is Anto, and you can find me across the internet at icarus-games.co.uk.
You've been listening to No Plan, No Problem. The song that plays us out is called All Together by a band called House Hats. Don't forget to leave a YouTube comment down below and follow us and all that stuff. Goodbye. Thanks so much for listening.
Goodbye.
Together.